Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you have not been here before, let me introduce myself. My name is Jenn Mount, and I am the owner and broker of Legacy Realty Advisors. We are a boutique brokerage here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and our main goal is to help people achieve their real estate goals. And so this month we are doing a series on the complete home buying process. And so I thought it would be fun to make it more of a story and use a fictional family. And so the name of this family is the Beatty family. And my name actually was Jennifer Beatty for a very long time. That's my maiden name. But this is not one of my family members. This is actually a real life client. And their last name is not Beatty. But let me just tell you a little bit about this client in case you haven't watched the previous episodes or any of our series. And also, if you would please subscribe to our channel, I would really appreciate that. Okay, so the Beatty family were a couple, and I sold them their first home, 2-bed, 1-bath, 1-car garage in a phenomenal neighborhood in Midtown Tulsa. And 2 years later, now they have a child, and he is about a month old, and so now they need a bigger home. And so we knew that they weren't going to be able to find the same, a big enough home in their original neighborhood because the price per square foot is very cost prohibitive. So we started looking. So catch you up, we found a house. We negotiated the best deal possible and we went into contract. Okay, so what happens next? Well, what happens next are inspections. So you as a buyer have 10 days from the effective date of the contract to do all inspections, and then deliver those inspections back to the seller with what we call a treatment, repair, replacement, supplemental agreement, okay? I always tell my clients that this date is one of the most important parts of my job, is to make sure that we get all of this done in that first 10 days. We did everything we were supposed to do. And we submitted the repair supplemental to the seller, and then they have 7 days to decide whether they're going to do the request or not. So a lot of times it could be small things like outlets, or now let me tell you this. Repairs in the contract have to be, they're supposed to be things that are a material defect of the home, okay? Such as a GFI outlet is not in the bathroom, a GFCI. What is that? It's that outlet that trips if water gets on it. So it's a safety issue. Structural issues. Well, our main problem that we had was the roof, okay? We realized that the roof was very questionable. So we had a roofing contractor as well as a regular inspector go out and inspect the roof, and they said, yes, in fact, the roof is non-insurable, okay? So if you are a buyer and you are buying a home, you are getting a mortgage, you're required to get insurance. This home was not eligible for insurance because the roof was in such poor condition. So you would think, as a seller, you would say, oh my, okay, well, yes, a roof is not a luxury item. A roof is a necessity to the home, so I'll replace it, because any buyer who buys my home is going to want a roof that is insurable. Well, guess what? The seller did not say that. This seller said, we're going to file an insurance claim. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So the 10 days after multiple extensions drug out until finally the seller was like, we're not replacing the roof. Maybe we'll split it with you, something like that, but we're waiting on insurance. And so then the buyer can choose to say, okay, I'll pay half of the roof, you pay half of the roof. Or they can walk away from the transaction, which is what the Beatty family did. And let me tell you why myself, as their trusted advisor, did give them the advice to go ahead and walk away. Whenever you negotiate a contract, there are terms that everyone agrees to, and there are things that people assume, such as there are no major structural problems. The heat and air is in normal working condition. I am going to have a roof over my head. And so to me, when a seller decides to say, too bad, so sad, that just shows they're not really motivated and they don't really care about the transaction going through. Doesn't really matter if they care or not, but I just went through this exact scenario a month and a half ago. It was my seller, and the buyer did inspections, delivered them to us, said they were questioning the roof. Insurance company came out and said it is uninsurable. So my seller wrote a check for $14,701 to the roofing company to put a new roof on so that the buyer could complete the transaction and have a new roof on their home. So if a roof is 5 years old, 10 years old, insurable, whatever, I'm not saying everyone go out and ask the sellers to give a new roof. That is not my point. My point is, if we find out you cannot obtain insurance on the roof, then my feeling is that it is the seller's obligation to deliver a product that is in normal working condition. So I want you, if you want to check out our blog. There are 2 great resources on there for you, a checklist of things you can avoid as a seller and as a buyer so that you don't get into contract, spend $900 on inspections as the buyer, and get all the way down the road just to find out the seller's not willing to negotiate or to be reasonable. So please check out the blog. Like I said, there are both of those resources are on there. And so what happens next? We send what's called a mutual release of contract and a disbursement of earnest money. My buyer does get their earnest money back, and we start looking for a house again, which we have done. Over the past weekend, we looked at several homes, found one that they love, put an offer on it, and we are back in contract today. So there's a lot of inventory in Tulsa right now. Buyers have options. So sellers, don't get greedy or haughty or any of this attitude that, well, they'll come down, they'll negotiate, they'll help me pay for the roof that I enjoyed for 20 years, because maybe in 2020, in the COVID days, maybe that was the situation, but now buyers have options. And when they're educated and when they're working with a professional, then they're going to explore those options. And that might be you having to put your house back on the market and find another buyer who is willing to take your bad roof. So at the end of every episode, we have a 3, 2, 1. 3 things you learned, 2 things you're going to share, and 1 thing you're going to implement. So the 3 things that you learned are, number 1, repairs are negotiable as long as they are a material defect, not cosmetic stuff. Number 2, you have 10 days to do all these inspections unless you do an extension and get the reports to the seller. And then number 3, buyers, you have options, okay? So don't settle. Even if you're in love with the house, renegotiate. 2 things you're gonna pass on are that go check your roof. We've had a lot of storms here. If you need a roofing contractor, I have a great one. And also, make sure that you have good home inspectors. I also have those, and I would love to share those with you. And one thing that you're going to implement is you are going to make sure that if you have a friend or family member and they want to list their house, they make sure that the roof is in good condition so we don't waste all this time and money just to have to start over from square one. So I hope that you got something good out of today's talk. I would love to connect with you on a personal level. So if you want to have coffee, if you want to go for a walk, whatever you want to do, I am here to be a resource for you. And remember, education without implementation is only entertainment. And while I am here to entertain you, I'm really here more to educate you and be a resource for you. So remember, you are valuable. And until the same time next week, I hope you have a great week. This is your midweek momentum. It's July 2nd. We're going to dominate the second half of the year. We're going to dominate this month. We're going to have great fireworks this weekend. We're going to make good memories with our family and do all the things that we are capable of doing. Oh, one more thing. At my church, every July, they do what's called At the Movies. So if you would like to go and have one of the best church experiences ever, please call me, text me, message me on this. My phone number is 918-671-6836. Go to church with me. I would love to have you, and I'll buy you lunch.